Hello everyone, and welcome to a new match, Dawn versus Eternal. Looks like we've got Dawn on these survivors, kind of just stealthing around. We got Zaka playing the nurse for Eternal. Honestly, not what I was expecting. I was expecting a bit of Nightlight Nurse, but we got Semshi already taking the first hit, if I am saying that name correctly. I've never known how to say this name. Well, already that is a very fast first down, about 30-40 seconds into the trial, and that's exactly what you're looking for if you are Eternal. You want this strong start.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand why a lot of people would probably have anticipated Nightlight coming in here for Eternal on the nurse here, but I don't know if you heard, but Zaka here do indeed be a monster. So comes out here, is able to get the very quick down as you had talked about, and it's been interesting as we've seen Nightlight kind of incorporated into the roster of Eternal. We've still seen very much that Zaka seems to be kind of holding things down on the killer side, which has been very fun to watch, quite honestly. We actually even see here Pixel Perfect able to come in while they're still right next to each other, gets that borrowed time hit onto the Claudette. We're going to continue one blink instead of overextending, gets the very quick recharge here. Now going towards our corner up here at the 1 o'clock portion, able to get the down. We do want to keep in mind, though, this survivor was just up on hook. Of course, the question would be if there's a decisive strike. Unfortunately, though, not going to be slapping our friend upside the head with a Lipton tea. That's going to be hook number 2.
Yeah, and it looks like we do have that decisive on Forgiven, and it looks like despite the early pressure that Zaka has, it does look like they're doing a decent job getting these generators out of the way. A decent amount of progress on not one but 2 generators, and it seems like Forgiven is going to have to run. The question is, who's going for that save right now?
Yeah, I don't know. This is tough. I mean, we see our killer here taking a look around. That one gen that we are next to has a lot of progress. That thing's knocking like a Ford in the middle of the winter. I'll tell you what, even this one that's next to us that hasn't popped yet. So we could be potentially looking at already having 2 gens done. But as we've already kind of talked about a couple of times through the course of the day, I feel like if we're going to be seeing a tunnel out this quickly, you would really like to have at least 3, preferably 4 gens. And as it does look like that, Zaka is going to quickly go for this tunnel out process. Gets the dead hard to be baited out here by our Claudette. Yeah, we've got a flashlight coming in, buying a little bit of additional time, trying to be a nuisance, but this is just going to be another slug. This is going to require somebody else to have to rotate over to pick that survivor off the ground while Zaka continues to tunnel out.
Sorry, I'm just dying on my water over here. It does look like the Claudette is going to go down once more, and this is going to be the first kill of the game. 2 gens in. Like you were saying, not what you want, but given that this is Eternal you're going against, this isn't particularly bad either. Like we were talking about before, like in our pre-show, Eternal is a step above the rest. So, being able to get some generators off on Zaka is most definitely a good thing. And it looks like we're gonna be looking around, looking for some other survivors, and a very nice second blink, able to get that hit onto Kai. And it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot in this map for the survivors to use. Just does it? Seems like kind of just bad RNG, I guess.
Yeah, now, I mean, here at this point, going to be another down. I mean, we're going to be taking a quick look around on board. It looks like we've at least got Meg was sitting around, I think that was like the 30-35% mark as far as on that gen, but that would only be generator number 3. And I feel like right now, really, what you would like to do is at least get, I know it's going to be asking for a lot because it's already a 3v1, but you would like to at least get 2 more gens, right?
I mean, I don't think that is such a tall ask, considering you have 1 gen that's just all the way across the map, and they're already working on that generator. And if you can get that done and then maybe 1 more, I think you're sitting in a decent spot for your nurse player. And we are going to see Forgiven going down on the ground, but Kai did get pulled off the hook on the other side of the map. They might be able to get some decent progress on one of the generators. They do get the quick reset, though, so they aren't quite able to just work on gens.
It is worth noting, though, I think you had shown, was that the ace that we had seen that had the deliverance, which means now it's armed, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So, I mean, that could be some time where you could really buy for your team. I mean, we do see that this is going to be the survivor that our nurse does happen to find. There is going to be the first tap. Now, what we're going to go ahead and see from Zaka, I mean, Zaka honestly has had a lot of, oh my goodness gracious, catches them before they can even take the quick drop into the locker. Now I'm going to be going up onto the hook, and the tough thing is, yeah, this survivor can save themselves, but we had not seen the save coming across the map until just now, and I feel like you would have rather have already had those two survivors split up on gens, right?
Yeah, but we do see Crush pulling themselves off the hook almost immediately. I don't even think Zaka noticed either that, or he's tunnel vision on getting Forgiven back onto the ground, or maybe even Kai. I'm not quite sure who is over here. And it does look like this is going to be Kai here. All survivors injured. That is going to be a 15% slowdown with Thanatophobia, which we haven't even had the chance to talk about yet.
Yeah, not only have we not talked about the Thanatophobia, but neither of us have pointed out that there is not a single endgame perk in this build. Zaka, the monster, oh my goodness gracious, coming out here, and it looks like we might be potentially looking at a 4K at only 2 gens complete.
Yeah, that might be the case, but at the same time, Forgiven does have that Unbreakable. So, but we do see Zaka has spotted Karash, and this should just be a quick 1-2 blink, and no blink even needed. Karash kind of just anticipating the blink and just started preemptively doubling back. So we should see Forgiven pulling themselves off the ground. Unless the Unbreakable was already used, but I can't think of a time when it would have been used.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember earlier myself, and honestly, I don't know. I feel like, especially after a long day where I was also up earlier for OCE, all the trials start to blend together, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, I don't remember particularly in this trial where it might have been used. I'm also wondering if maybe you're hoping that you were hoping that maybe Adam gets found, and then you can use the Unbreakable at endgame to get back towards the hatch, but that just wasn't the case.
Yeah, and this is gonna be the last survivor getting thrown on the hook, and Zaka coming out with a nice 4K to start things off. And I'm sorry for stealing you. I shouldn't have said that, so that way you could have done your little gag. But yeah, coming out with a nice 4K to kind of set the tempo for this match. I mean, if you're looking at the top of your screen, you see the score line, but most importantly, you see the seeding numbers. You see Dawn, that 11th seed, versus Eternal, that 1st seed, and that is quite a difference in the standings. So I have to say, this is kind of what I was expecting from Zaka, but also Dawn didn't play particularly poorly, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything I don't think it was so much about what Dawn did wrong versus what it was about what Zaka did right in this situation, right? And yeah, we can talk about the 1 versus the 11, but we'd even talked about at the end of our last matchup, right, between Trauma and 6, about how we're expecting a lot of really close matchups. I don't think Dawn's really too much farther behind those two teams either. I just think what we're seeing right now is just, honestly, it just seems to be a team it's just a well-oiled machine and seems to be clicking on all cylinders, and that is Eternal.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be like the 3rd time I've mentioned it now, but Eternal just seems to be that here's everyone else just kind of here, and then Eternal's all the way up here. It's just, there is that much of a difference, and I honestly think that's what we're gonna see for the rest of the match. As like I said, Zaka set the tempo, set the precedent for this match, and by extension the rest of the season. So I mean, I want to have faith in Dawn, but I don't think this is the match for it. That's my opinion.
This is going to be the big thing where, like, Dawn just needs to make sure that they kind of keep in the back of their head of who they're playing today, right? Make sure that, hey, it's only week number 1. If anything, hey, let's get the toughest opponent out of the way first, right? That way we can get into the rest of the season, really dig in, figure out where we lie, and then kind of start addressing some of the weaknesses, preparing for maybe a potential playoff push. So I don't know. I definitely feeling some pressure here, but who knows? I mean, maybe our killer from Dawn comes out and surprises us here, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. If there's any killer that's going to do that, it is Nurse. So you could always see what's going to happen, and we'll be back with Dawn's Nurse right after the break. Hello everyone, and welcome to game 2 of round 1 of Dawn versus Eternal. We've got, I feel really bad because I do not know how to say this name, Semshi playing the Nurse for Dawn, and if I butchered that name, I'm sorry. But we got Eternal on the survivors, Zaka getting spotted, but BubbleZaver being the one to take the first hits, going up on the hill, presumably with a bounce landing, and almost run straight back into the Nurse, goes down. A very faster first down, matching Zaka's pace. And I should mention this earlier, but I am joined by Q in the casting booth. Say hello.
I gotta pick my jaw up off the floor first. I must say, the first blink you saw actually turned, looked at another survivor. Just a second blink, find the first hit. 2 confident blinks, gets the down there. It is interesting.
For
though.
the
We
people,
see a very quick unhook. And I was gonna mention the For the People because I've been very much appreciating seeing For the People become a little bit more meta in comp, but I don't understand them like super like quick change there. You know what I mean? Because now you just can't heal for that time.
That was a little weird. Maybe they were just worried. They were like, okay, there's no thanatophobia, so there's no reason not to do it. So they just want to make sure that BubbleZaver didn't get tunneled. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Oh, I get it. It's a style thing.
That could be it too. That could definitely be it too. While we are talking about the perks though, we do see that Pentimento being used, and preemptive firecrackers from Nightlight. It doesn't matter, M1's coming through anyway. And it looks like this should just be another quick 2 blinks. Nightlight goes down as Corrupt ends. You know, we were talking about it earlier. If there's one killer you can match tempo on pretty easily, it's Nurse. And so far, Semshi's doing a really good job of matching Zaka's tempo. 2 hooks in, and the first generator just popped.
Yeah, you're talking about only 1 generator, and with the Ruin being up, it does mean you still have that Pentimento in the back pocket, as you had talked about there. We've got some scratch marks leaving this generator back here. It's kind of like the 4 area. We do see a little bit of work getting put into this gen that we were just seeing there. Also seeing a reset of Ace by themselves here. It is worth noting, though, both of our hooks early were both on fresh hooks, and that's just important to know that that does mean we don't have anyone just quite yet able to be tunneled out, because we have to remember that if you're wanting to, you talked about beat the pace of Zaka, you need the 4K here, what, before 2 more gens pop?
I think so. I mean, Dawn only finished 2 generators, so they need to get it preferably before this next generator pops. But if they want to tie it up, they've got 1 more generator to do so. And it seems like that generator that we were just looking at by BubbleZaver is almost done, and it looks like Nightlight's also working on a generator, so that's going to be a tall order, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely going to be tough here. And I mean, also, you know, on top here, it is worth noting that Nightlight has not healed, which does make me think that maybe they're just prioritized banging out these gens here, trying to make sure that they can at least get to the win condition first. They are running the risk, though, of a little bit of a snowball, because at least at this point in time, currently on the map, you do have an additional survivor that could potentially be put onto the ground here. We do see, though, Semsi having some problems not being able to locate another survivor. That's Nightlight, though, there. That's the survivor we were talking about. Hadn't been able to be healed. They're just going to be hanging out on the ground here. And honestly, I feel like at this point you might just want to go ahead and take this hook. The only problem is Nightlight is probably communicating right now where that Ruin is at.
Yeah, and he does go back on the hook, but like you said, Ruin being spotted. Although, if you ask me, getting rid of the Ruin isn't too particularly bad because that opens up the floor for Pentimento and Pop Goes the Weasel. So we do see that gen's very close to being done. We know there's a survivor around here somewhere. It's just a matter of where, and that is going to be Dan running early, trying to avoid getting caught. And we do see the double back, and once again, unfortunately, mispredicts where the double back should go and just runs straight into the nurse.
Yeah, this is going to be big. There's that Ruin cleanse like you had talked about. However, there is going to be generator number 3, which does mean officially Eternal is going to be moving on as far as with set point number 1 here. But I would imagine Eternal's still going to try and do what Eternal does best, which is absolutely pound these generators out and try and get as many stages out the door. Because I feel like right now for Eternal, as you and I have talked about multiple times, they're on a really good tear here. And I think they have no intentions of letting their feet up off the gas.
Yeah, and that's and the deliverance decisive from Dan as he's getting chased. I wonder if he knows I wonder if Semshi knows it's there. It seems like that is not the case. He's about to get hit with the decisive.
Oh, and he slaps him with the D.
Yeah, and that is a bit unfortunate. We do see Nightlight off in the distance, and Semshi kind of just struggling to get hits right here. The camera acting out just a little bit with this skin.
Semsi got slapped with the D so hard we're starting to have visual bugs. That's crazy.
Yeah, you know how spectator bugs be.
We are going to see, though, at this point, I mean, that was big time that we bought there from the decisive strike. Still have yet to see a follow-up down. Actually, Nightlight going to be, or not Nightlight, our survivor is still going to be able to make their way to distance. That was Nightlight that we had actually just came across there onto our screen, and Nightlight has already been healed here. So, I mean, there's generator number 4. I would imagine we're probably going to be seeing at least the Ace or the Claudette, if not both, trying to find a reset here and get this last generator out. And if they can, I'm sure they would really love to get 1, 2, 3, all 4 out the door.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like that's gonna be the case so far. I don't know if Semshi is just like playing by I'm a good pub killer, like a nice pub killer, but there hasn't been really any tunneling so far. Bubble Diver goes down on the ground, and this last generator has a good amount of progress on it. There's not much Semshi can do here aside from really just go for this and hopefully get the pop off in time.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. I mean, we are going to see now this. We got one survivor rotating over to a gen. We do have Dan up off of the ground here. Looks like we're going to be adding the Pop Goes the Weasel onto this middle gen here. That's going to regress that back instantly 25%. I mean, we are going to see here a little bit of a 3-gen setup when we include the 2 on the top side plus that middle gen here, especially when we take into account that it is a nurse here. But it looks like, actually able to find our survivor. There's a tag now at this point onto our Claudette. We did have the save come in back across the way, though, so no one currently on the hook. Just 3 injured survivors. To outplay in order to buy extra distance here from the Claudette. Now actually going to be, if I had to guess, trying to really move this aggro up more towards the shack side. Instead, Semsi trying to check in on this metal gen. Not going to be able to find a connection onto Nightlight, and if I had to guess, every time a survivor happens to see the nurse coming, they're just gonna start gumping it and start shift W teching up towards shack.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem like the plan, especially when you have one gen that's almost ready to go and another gen that's kind of getting there. And it really does seem like they really want to just put all the pressure they possibly can onto this nurse. And right now, Semshi just blinking around, trying to really do anything. I think the survivors are actually up by shack resetting. It seems like the case. They are going to go for the full reset over here and just make sure everyone is full health. And then
this is crazy. I feel like right now they're just, this is like, it's almost like they're playing it as if they need to get 3 or 4 people out the door, isn't it?
I think they're just trying to pad their stats, honestly. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Eternal to just be like, hey, we're doing well. We've already won. Time to pad some stats. Let's get everyone out. There's that last generator done. And I don't know what stuff she could do here. There's no Noed or anything. And that Pentimento hasn't really been used. You see that white aura all the way off in distance. There is an injured Nightlight over here. She should be able to get the down here and hopefully able to camp, but no, you don't see him running off, and you have another survivor just burning their flashlight on you.
Yeah, this is tough. It's crazy for them. We have to keep in mind too, you know, one thing that Eternal kind of had said coming into this season, like a goal of theirs was to like not drop a single set, right? And so by starting off the season by not only, maybe they're trying to not only not just drop a single set, but if you can start off the season by not allowing a single death, that would be a huge, because that's a 4 out there.
Yes, that is, and that is a very, very impressive performance from Eternal, but I don't think we expected anything less. And
yeah, I mean, that's just Eternal. I feel like this is a phrase that I say a lot when it comes to competitive DBD, but I think it's just a perfect example of Eternal doing Eternal things. You know, we talked about the tear that they've been on. I don't think it was so much about Dawn making, you know, any mistakes as far as Semsey on the killer side. I just think it was really about it's a day where Eternal showed up and everything just seems to be clicking.
yeah, I mean, I have to say, Semsey looked really good early game, but I think the decision not to tunnel either of the first 2 survivors was really what kind of bit him in the butt at the end there. I really think that had you tunneled Bobazaver or Nightlight, I think that could have been a much different game. Because, like we were saying early on, Semsey was matching the tempo that Zaka had set in that first game. But by not tunneling, you kind of just didn't take the pressure that you had.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the first one because we had seen the very early for the people. It's like, oh, well, if you're going to give me one injured survivor for another injured survivor, I'll just go ahead and take it and take that hook, right? But then to not follow up with a tunnel as far as on that survivor, not just sure if we got lost in the moment or what, but we got to keep in mind coming into this trial, we were needing to set up, you talked about the very tough pace that had been set. So I definitely feel like removing someone from the trial early definitely would have been the preferable move. I mean, it was one of those situations, right? You got slapped with the D so hard it slapped the mask around. All of a sudden, we were seeing it in the view, and I just think it kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah, and luckily for Dawn, they are going to have another chance. We do have the Blight round coming up soon, and as much as I want to put faith in them, I just, like I said earlier, I don't think this is the match for it.
Yeah, you know, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I really do apologize, but I feel like the big thing for Eternal for teams moving forward is you got to catch them in the first set, because it seems like recently, if you are going to try and really give them a run for their money, you want to put them on the back foot. Once Eternal starts rolling, they just don't stop. You know?
Yeah, definitely the case for Eternal. I mean, momentum within a match is one thing, but a 5 tournament win streak is momentum on a complete other level. So I find it hard. I find it hard to believe that a team is going to be able to stop that anytime soon. But like I said, the Blight round is coming up, and we'll be back right after the break. Hello everyone, and welcome to round 2 of Dawn versus Eternal. We've got Kai playing the Blight for Dawn, and right now just rushing over to the Corrupt and already finding Bobazaver on that Atom, and again also finding Zaka right over here. A bit of an unsafe pallet here, but I don't know if that was a lie that we saw. But either way, Zaka not in a great spot positionally right now, but he does manage to get to this other pallet here, and we will see the hug tech come out from Kai, able to break that pallet, and already this side of the map is starting to look kind of devoid of pallets.
Yeah, I mean, are we starting to create a little bit of a dead zone? Of course. I mean, it is main building, so I mean, we are still probably going to be seeing a survivor or two head back there at some point during the trial. Now moving back into the middle portion of the map, I believe that is the Adam that we had found trying to work the mind game. That is, however, a really strong survivor. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get the mind game out here the way that we were looking for it. And you know, now especially got to keep in mind suffocation bit. This middle part of the map can give you so many resources. Instead, though, Nightlight adding +10 wood to the face, burning the retinas here as well as. Oh, actually, I just realized that's I just realized that's Bubbazover on the Adam here. But still, regardless, generator number 1, 2 tags on the 2 separate survivors, so that's at least 10% slowdown from the Thanatophobia.
Yeah, I mean, so much is happening all at once, and already Dan is healed. Yeah, there's just so much happening all at once, both from Kai's perspective and the survivor's perspective. And looks like so many target switches. Oh my. It's almost hard to keep track of, because first guy was on Bubbazover, then Zaka, then back to Bubbazover, now then Sir Pickle, and now he's back on Bubbazover. It's just survivors just keep showing up, and Kai's like, okay, I'll chase.
Yeah, the only problem though is, yeah, you're getting extra slowdown from the Thanatophobia, and we do see that our survivor squad here from Eternal is getting those resets relatively quick, which means they aren't working on gens, but we've already had the ruin cleanse, so that does mean you don't currently have any help as far as regression on those gens, which means if you aren't going to be able to continue to get pressure on the gen, Eternal is just going to simply sit back and do the easy thing, even if it's just with one survivor, and that is, you know, hold M1 and hit some skill checks.
Yeah, and well, there's another gen right here. These survivors have been working very efficiently, and we might see a wiggle. No. But that is gonna be a basement hook. If you ask me, Bubbazover is as good as dead. Look, a bit of a spectator bug with the wall break here. Do we still have a 3-gen? We do still have a 3-gen on this top side of the map. So yes, I think Kai just needs to just chill out here, protect his 3-gen, make sure Bubbazover dies, and some weird hitboxes in the sky, unable to get a clean hit. And forget what I was saying, they've got that swing was a little preemptive, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think you were trying to block off the doorway there, just like there. I don't think you were perfect, or I don't think you were actually intending to hit Adam. I think you were trying to work your way around the figure and actually block the window there. That way you can count down the borrowed time. At this point though, you do have both the survivors in front of you are entered, trying to go for the tunnel out process onto the ace, and since Claudette has been hanging out and is around the area, you can leave the slug, maybe potentially get a 2-for-1 here.
Yeah, and it looks like that is going to be the case. Kai decides to take that extra bounce, be a little more cautious just because he could, and we've already got another survivor over here looking for the heal. There's going to be a flashlight save. There's a wall right there, but maybe Zaka gets picked up instead. We do see Dan coming over there with the med kit, but not really able to get anything from it. Instead, it looks like we're going to have another chase and kind of just doing a little bit of zoning, a nice little hug tech. We have all 4 survivors in this small area, and borrowed time once again. Zaka gets picked up off the ground, and Kai is being led away from his 3-gen by Bubbazover. I think Bubbazover knows he's dead. He's just like, okay, I'm going to stall for as long as humanly possible. And we do see Dan come nearby, and it looks like we know he's been using that for the people, so it might be a case of he's gonna go for the body block instead. And then do we see the for the people? No, Kai is able to prevent that from happening. Either that or just Dan didn't have it. I could have been wrong. No, Dan did have the for the people. Decided maybe not worth it. I'm not entirely sure. But
yeah, it's unfortunate, right? Because it's not like you can set up for the save and then just use it to prevent the tunnel out as far as the elimination, because that's hook number 3 there, as we're gonna see 3 consecutive hooks. But even with that, you are going to see that our survivor squad here has been absolutely demolishing these generators. However, that gen 25% instant regression thanks to the pop.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I do think Kai made the right decision by tunneling out Bubzopper and finding another survivor here, and unfortunately hitting the okay, I don't know what that rush was. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what was happening there. But we are still kind of in a chase with Sir Pickle, and no, Kai is just running across the map. Wait, his 3-gen was broken. Oh, I just realized that. Man, I have not been good about paying attention to what generator to get done when. I guess that's what happens when there's a lot going on.
Yeah, let's say it's been a pretty active trial thus far. Plus, you're kind of wearing a couple of caps over there, my friend. You've been keeping up to the best that I think anybody could. So we are going to see, though, at this point, now 2 different survivors are injured. So of course, at least the 10% slowdown, trying to prevent generator number 5 from popping, because you would like to at least get 1 more fresh hook. I would imagine, really preferably, you would like to get 2 more fresh hooks before this 5th gen pops.
Yeah, it does look like maybe that could happen. We did see that Zaka was over here, and a nice body block from Sir Pickle, just straight up preventing Kai from being able to go anywhere. But I don't know if it'll do much, because we did mention this side of the map is kind of dead aside from that main building. But main building isn't even gonna matter. Sir Pickle goes down, and Kai needs to cross the entire map in order to stop this gen from getting done. But no, instead decides, I want to go for Zaka and maybe get a 3K at least.
Yeah, I think the big thing here would be is if you can secure your other slug, maybe even potentially force out Unbreakable, because I don't think we've seen that yet this trial. We are going to be seeing, however, our survivor across the way getting picked up. Not sure if maybe that is that Unbreakable that we were talking about, but at this point, still anyone trying to get that 5th and final generator complete. 10% slowdown we see working around our TNL. Claudette's going to be able to make the vault, should be able to even make 1 more revolution around trying to make the mind game. There's generator number 5 getting popped. We actually have Claudette there, though. That is going to be a down, but we still have 2 other fresh survivors, and I almost think that maybe the slug play might have been the play, because I think you're already going to have somebody on a door.
Yeah, and that survivor that was slugged earlier did have the Unbreakable, is the survivor that is also on a door. So if you can get to this in time, that's another fresh hook, and it does seem like that's going to be the case. But you missed the rush. Oh no, you missed the rush, and Sir Pickle gets to live just a little bit longer. That is so unfortunate. And now
yeah,
we
is a
see
heartbreaker. They started work on the door over here too. Really smart. It looks like they weren't able to get the door over here completely prepped.
And the
But
deliverance.
the deliverance, everything just really seems to be accounted for here from Team Eternal.
Yeah, this is looking to be at best a 6 stage, but we know Hatch is over this way, and there it is.
Wow.
There it is.
That's impressive. I mean, you talk about starting the gate to make our killer here think that you're pushing the 2nd survivor off the gate, right? So you go away from the hook, then to have the deliverance, be able to make it back to Shaq just in time to get the 3 out. Ah, man, Eternal just really in their bag right now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very active match. It seemed like something was always happening. So I'm still trying to process what happened. I'm still there, because there was a lot going on there. So man, it's just, that really sucks to see, because I thought Kai played that pretty well, if you ask me. It's just, I guess it's one of those cases where Team 1 plays good, Team 2 plays better.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those maps where, especially with moving the Blight to a bigger map, being on Suffocation Pit, and this was, I think, when we spawned in, we didn't really have much help from RNG. I think we had kind of a pretty traditional 3-1-3 setup as far as the gens. Of course, Eternal was able to break that up strategically pretty early on as well. You did still have just the 3-gen on the on the originally corrupted side of the map, but right now we're looking at a score of Eternal at 18. Dawn of 10. So Dawn's killer, or sorry, Dawn's survivors here have a very, very tall task if they're hoping to see the Oni set.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a tall task, and we will see if the survivors that are done are up to it after this break. Hello everyone, and welcome to what very well could be our last game of the day. We've got Nightlight playing the Blight against the survivors of Dawn, and I gotta say, Nightlight Blight, great rhyme, very scary.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't. I definitely don't envy these survivors right now, right? And especially because when you look at a scoreboard of needing to get some outs here, that means his first chase needs to be pretty good. We do see, though, Jake saying hold that, dropping a little present for our friend. We've also got an Ace trying to set up here for a body block. Nightlight trying to work their way around it, able to get the down. Very, very nice here. And since you're able to get the down, forces a pallet down basically for free.
Yeah, this has been a really strong start for Nightlight so far. We're not even a full minute into the trial, and already we got our first hook. I don't even know if the survivors were able to get on any generators.
I don't know. We'll take a quick look around here real quick, and I mean, it doesn't look like at least anyone's currently working on one, so that's something that we definitely will have to keep an eye out for, because if that's the case, I mean, remember, we need to not only get the gens done, we need to get 8 stages out the door if we're wanting to keep this thing moving into the Oni set on Father Campbell's Chapel. But Nightlight here quickly going to go ahead and apply the pop, goes the Weasel, and going to be kind of patrolling this middle area, wait for someone to move past that choke point for the save.
Yeah, and the other thing I have to mention is it's not just 8 stages out the door. It's 8 stages out the door, and only 2 people can be hooked the entire game. You can't have 3 different people getting hooked. And here's your second person right here. So there is Forgiven on the hook. Nightlight doing a really good job. That unhook was a little weird. You don't typically see 1-for-1s at this level of play. And we do see the pop. No ruin at all, actually. I just noticed that. And Nightlight bringing that no-ed, I guess it's just like sort of a safety net, trying to ensure that he wins this. Forgiven off the hook with that deliverance. And a nice pallet stun. Plus 10 wood to the face, as you would say, from Kai. And Kai, oh no, running into something. But Nightlight, I think he got the rush bug where you can't rush until you M1.
Oh, tries to go for the M1 onto the Ace, tucked just perfectly in order for Nightlight to get locked onto the pallet itself to force the break. Now going to be getting the hit onto the Ace. It's been a little while since we've seen anybody else. Haven't seen any heals coming across. Makes me think they're trying to prioritize these gens. Oh my goodness gracious. Get behaviored, big boy. Getting the hit through the pallet and the stun. And that's another stage on the board for Nightlight.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was just a ping diff for, between Kai and Nightlight, and already we've got another survivor in chase. We've got Semsi being chased here, right next to the survivor on this very unsafe survivor. Nightlight doing 360s basically, does manage to get the rush and the hit off. And a very nice 1-2 combo. The 360s finally paid off.
Yeah, now that's going to result in having one person down on the ground. We still have somebody up on a hook. Nightlight just going to go ahead and quickly retrieve Claudette up off the ground. We'll be on the other side of the main building. There's generator number 2 getting popped. Jake is right here around the corner, is going to go ahead and retrieve the save here, which is going to cause Nightlight to just go ahead and work their way around the main building here. Sees a few scratch marks, is going to see if maybe they can cut them off on the other side of the building. That's going to be for the ace there. Nice awareness, nice play here from Nightlight.
Yeah, and it is worth mentioning with Semshi getting hooked, that is going to be the win going over to Eternal. No matter what happens at this point, there's no way that Dawn can win with the points that they have. So we are still going to play this out though. As always, it's good sportsmanship to do so. And it looks like I think we have Karash back here, and it seems like no, he didn't disappear. He decided to stick around, being a little greedy with that. And Nightlight should be able to follow up on that M1 with the rush. And now it's just Forgiven. It's up to Forgiven to make something happen. And he's all the way across the map.
Yeah, I almost feel like here it was almost like one of those, well, I'm going to at least get one more gen done if I'm going to be doing anything here today. And it does not look like that's going to be the case. Here is Nightlight working the way across the map. Here is finding Kate. Kate, of course, is entered, so that means just one simple M1 in order to put Kate down onto the ground back here at the shack. And oh, yeah, there it is, looking in our Blight dead into the eye. 4K at only 2 gens complete. Wow.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate for the survivors of Dawn. But, I mean, we've been talking about it this whole time. This is Eternal. You are literally trying to slay Goliath. So, unfortunately, they were unable to do so. But, I mean, you've been saying it this whole time. They need to keep in the back of their mind who exactly they are fighting, or who they are playing against. And
yeah, I mean, right now we're talking about, like, the best in the business, right?
Yeah. I mean, these survivors really are the best there are in the game. So they can't be feeling too bad. I mean, I think they played well, especially on their killers looked really good. I've got to say, Semshi and Kai both had some really good moments there, and I definitely do think that even though they lost in they kind of got swept here. I'm gonna be honest, they kind of got swept here. They do look like they will be a contender for most other teams. Which, at the end of the day, that's what you need to be. You can't be. Not every team should be expected to be the best team in the world.
Right,
So,
yeah, and I mean, especially with the pace that Eternal's been on here. I mean, right now, I think you've got some things that you can take away from this matchup here today. If you were Dawn, even though you talked about, yeah, it is in a sweep here. Maybe.
oh my God, he was in the basement.
Wow, in the basement, going to be able to show it off here. There's going to be the hatch closed across the way, and I would imagine with Nightlight having already checked the basement, won't be checking that over there, so that's probably just going to be a bleed out. So while we wait for the bleed out, we're just going to finish talking about how, there's, even though with a 2-0 and it's going to be a sweep, I think there's going to be some things for Dawn to be able to take home, both good and bad for them to work on. And I think from the good side, it is showing some promise today where they're going to be able to maybe be a threat for, like you said, a lot of other teams in the league moving forward.
Yeah, and yeah, as the seconds of Kai's life fade into nothing, we got Nightlight running around, and I have to say, this was a really good match. Like, I mean, from Eternal's perspective, they are well on their way of their goal of getting out without dropping a set. I mean, that is the goal they set for themselves, and here they are, one match, 1/11th of the way of getting that. And for Dawn, you've got the whole thing where if you came out, you played your best, and you looked good doing so. Because you can come out, you could play against Eternal, you can get completely rolled, and it just doesn't look pretty. This was not that kind of roll. They came out, they played well, and like I said, like I've been saying this entire time, Eternal's just a tier above the rest.
Yeah, I think this is one of those situations. We often say where how scores don't quite reflect how close games were, and I'm gonna say that here with knowing that obviously there is definitely a gap between where Eternal is now and where Dawn is now, but I don't think it's nearly as big as what the scoreboard is going to currently reflect, and I don't want that to sound like a dig or a challenge towards Eternal whatsoever. You had mentioned previously, right? I think the big thing here for Dawn to keep in mind is who they are playing against, the fact that they're on a big roll, and the fact that they're still able to have some moments of some flashes of some really good gameplay here against that kind of competition should have them feeling pretty good moving forward.
Yeah, and that is most definitely the case. We do have a final score. It is worth noting that bleedouts make the scoring a little bit more difficult with how we do the scoring, so I do need to go back and double check this, but the score at the end of that round was 42 points for Eternal and 14 for Dawn. So, I mean, we've definitely seen more one-sided games. So, I mean, like I said, if you're Dawn, keep in mind who you're playing against, who you played against, and then realize you did still look good, and come back next week. And I don't know who they play next week, though. I don't know the schedule off the top of my head, unfortunately. But you come back next week and you play well. If you're Eternal, you're well on your way for achieving your goal of a flawless season. And with that said, I think we are going to have time for one more interview with someone from Eternal, and then we will be back, I guess. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this nice little interview. We've got Kaz here. Say hello.
Yo, what's up, my people?
All right. So Kaz, from my understanding, you are more of the coach for the team coming into this match. What does that mean for a comp team?
Okay, that means a lot of things, but for Eternal, it mainly means telling Bubba what to do. Because Bubba is a little bit less smarter than the rest of us. So we kind of have to put some extra time and care into him so we can perform well.
Okay. On a more serious note, though, how does having a coach, how is it a little bit different?
I mean, we can focus on our mistakes more, learn from what we're doing wrong, so we can improve from there a lot easier.
All right. How did you feel coming into this match, and how did you feel coming into the season?
Very, very confident. We haven't lost many. I think we've lost one game all year. We've won 5 tournaments, lost one.
All right.
So we plan on winning this without taking any losses, really.
Yeah, that's what I believe. That's what you mentioned, or what your team mentioned in your team interview when we were doing the selection. That you wanted to finish the season without losing a single set. Now,
yep, that is correct.
I gotta say, you are currently 1/11th of your way through that process in the regular season. How do you plan to keep up your performances?
Consistency, practicing daily, and trying hard.
All right, and
practice basics every day, So
yeah, and I got one last question for you. Obviously, I think it's safe to say that you are one of, if not the best team in the world right now. Are there any teams playing in this season that maybe you're a little bit worried about, that you need to practice a little bit extra for?
No, don't think so. No.
I like the confidence.
Yeah, it'd be.
All right, well, that is all the questions I had for you, so we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to be hanging out soon, so we're going to head to a quick break, very quick, just so we can get Q back here so we can say goodbye. But everyone say bye to Kaz. Say bye to everyone watching.
Bye, goodbye. Thank you for watching.
Yep, and thank you for your time, and we will be back in just a second. And like I said, that was going to be a very quick break, and we are back to wrap up the day. I gotta say, this was a great day of matches. What do you think?
Yeah, I know we got started a little bit later than we were expecting, but honestly, the matches that we did get to see were pretty good. I know both of them were 2-0s, but yep. I think both of them packed with plenty of action, even for it just being the 4 sets.
Yeah, definitely. So, basically.
Even though it does it up for today, that's not it for the weekend for us for week number 1,
yeah,
right?
No, we got 2 more matches tomorrow. We've got Oh Boy versus Petroleum and Soma versus. Oh God, I never have these ready. It's like this is a perpetual thing. I never have the schedule off the top of my head. I'm going to find that match. Soma versus Reverse. That's what it is.
There we go.
I knew it. There was one more match. So we got 2 more matches tomorrow, and they should definitely be good ones. Anyway, me and Q are gonna get headed out. Q, why don't you drop your socials, say goodbye to the stream?
Yeah, you can find me pretty well just about everywhere that you can think of. Social media, YouTube, Twitch, at YoBoyCue, YoBoyCue, not the letter Q, that is CUE. Find me just about anywhere that you can think of. Always enjoy being on the desk with you, Will. This is a blast today.
Yeah, this definitely was a blast. But unfortunately, our time together has to come to an end. So with that, thank you to all of the staff, all of the viewers, all of the players, everyone who makes DBDLeague possible. And yeah, I've been Williawesome with the Dead by Daylight League, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye!